The sky changed on a quiet Tuesday evening. People were walking home, eating dinner, or watching the news when the first ship appeared. It didn't come with fire or sound, it just showed up, huge, dark, and silent, floating above New York City. Soon, two more appeared over Tokyo and Moscow. They hung in the air like shadows, not moving, not speaking. No one knew what to do. Phones rang, sirens sounded, and TV stations broke into regular programs. The president went on air, calm but serious. "We are aware of the situation," he said. "We are monitoring it closely." But behind the scenes, leaders were scared. These ships were too big, too quiet, too advanced. In Colorado Springs, Captain Luke Bennett stood in a dark underground room filled with screens and soldiers. This was Northcom, one of the most secure military centers in the world. Luke stared at the live feed from New York. The ship blocked the sunset, casting a cold shadow over the city. "Any signal?" he asked. "Nothing," said a young officer. "No radio, no movement. They're just watching." Dr. Carol Davis, a scientist who studied alien languages, stood beside him. She adjusted her glasses and frowned. "They're testing us," she said. "They want to see how we react." Around the world, armies moved into position. Jets flew in circles around the ships, but got no response. Missiles were loaded, but no one dared fire. Fear spread fast. People stocked up on food, stayed indoors, and waited. The days passed. Still, the ships did not speak. Then on the fifth night, a signal came. It played on every phone, TV, and radio at the same time. A tall, insect-like creature appeared on screen. Its eyes glowed red, and its voice was cold and flat. "People of Earth," it said, "you are not ready. Surrender now or be erased." Panic exploded. Some cried, some prayed, others believed it was the end. Governments talked of giving up to save lives. The world held its breath, expecting the worst. But far away, deep under the desert in Nevada, a different kind of team was watching. They didn't panic. They had seen this coming. In a secret base called Site Gamma, a small group of scientists and engineers looked at each other and nodded. Lance Cooper, the man in charge, turned off the broadcast and said one thing. "Then let's show them what ready looks like." Deep under the desert in Nevada, there was a place few people knew about. It was called Site Gamma. No name was on the door. No flags flew outside. It was built to stay hidden. Inside, the walls were steel, the lights were bright, and the air was cool. This was where Project Aegis ran in secret for over 10 years. Long ago, in 2031, a strange ship was found under the ice in Antarctica. It wasn't from Earth, or so everyone thought. Dr. Ellen Pratt, a smart woman who loved puzzles, studied it for years. One day, she made a shocking discovery. The ship wasn't alien. It was built by humans from the future. The data inside told a clear story. A powerful enemy, called the Zarathi, would come. They always attacked young, spacefaring worlds. Earth was next. The future humans left behind plans, weapons, shields, and ways to fight back. Project Aegis was born. Lance Cooper, a tough engineer with a calm voice, led the team. They worked in silence, building what the world wasn't ready to know. They made rail cannons that could shoot metal rods at near light speed. They built gravity beams that could crush ships from space. And above the Earth, they placed Sentinel Prime, a huge defense station that floated in orbit, invisible to the naked eye. When the Zarathi ships arrived, the team at Site Gamma didn't panic. They had trained for this. They watched the world fear the aliens, but they knew something no one else did. Humanity had a chance. "They think we're weak," Lance said during a meeting. "They think we'll beg, but we've been ready." Ellen stood by a screen showing the alien ships. They're not talking because they don't need to. To them, we're just animals, easy to control. Luke Bennett, the Army captain, visited the site 2 days after the Zarathi message. He saw the tech, the plans, the weapons. He couldn't believe it. "You've been hiding this all along?" he asked. "We had to," Lance said. "If the world knew, there'd be chaos. Now, we don't have a choice." They ran final tests. Sentinel Prime powered up. The rail cannons in the desert, Siberia, and Africa were loaded. Every system checked. The plan was simple: strike first, strike hard, and end it fast. Outside, the world waited in fear. Inside Site Gamma, the lights turned red. The clock started. Lance looked at the team. "This isn't about fear anymore. It's about time we showed them who we really are." The world held its breath. The Zarathi ship still hung above New York, silent and dark. People watched the sky, waiting for fire, for noise, for the end. But in the hidden base under the desert, the silence was about to break. At 3:17 in the morning, a signal fired from Earth into space. It came from Sentinel Prime, the secret defense station floating high above the Pacific. A beam of blue-white light shot down like a sword from the sky. It hit the Zarathi ship with no sound, no flash, just a strange ripple in the air like glass bending before it breaks. Then the ship folded, not exploded, not burned, but crushed, pulled in on itself like paper in a fist. In less than a second, it was gone. A tiny dark spot appeared where it had been, then vanished. No debris, no crash, just empty sky. At the same time, 3 hidden weapons fired from the ground. One in the Sahara Desert, one in Siberia, one in the outback of Australia. These were rail cannons, built using future tech. They shot heavy metal rods at impossible speed. So fast, they left no trail. The rods hit the other 2 alien ships before they could move. The ship above Tokyo burst into a silent ball of light. The one over Moscow cracked open like an egg, spilling fire and twisted metal before breaking apart. Pieces fell into the sea and forests, burning as they dropped. On the ground, people screamed, ran, or froze in shock. In New York, crowds in the streets looked up, hands over mouths. In Tokyo, cameras caught the bright flash and the falling pieces. In Moscow, soldiers rushed to the crash site, guns ready. But in Site Gamma, there was no shouting, no cheering, just calm voices and steady hands. "Target 1, gone," said a tack at the console. 2 and 3, destroyed, said another. Lance Cooper stood in the center, arms crossed, face still. "Did they send a signal out?" he asked. Ellen Pratt checked a data. "No, our jamming field blocked their comms. They never called for help." Luke Bennett walked in, eyes wide. "You did it! You actually took them down!" "We didn't just take them down. We wiped them off the map before they knew we were dangerous." Carol Davis looked at the screens showing the empty skies. "They thought we were weak. They thought we'd surrender. Instead, we hit them first." Outside, the world began to wake up to a new truth. The aliens were gone. Not defeated, crushed. In less than a minute, the fear that had gripped the planet was gone. But in the control room, no one relaxed. They knew this might not be the end. It might only be the beginning. Lance turned to the team. "Clean up the data, lock the systems, and get Sentinel Prime ready, because if they send more, we'll be waiting." The sun rose over the Bering Sea, painting the ice in soft pink and gold. Smoke still curled from broken pieces of metal scattered across the frozen water. These were all that remained of the Zarathi ship that had hovered above Moscow.
Now it was just wreckage, twisted, blackened, and silent. Military boats moved slowly through the ice, sending small teams to examine the debris. Scientists in heavy coats stepped onto the frozen ground, carrying tools and scanners. One piece glowed faintly blue, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. No one touched it yet. They knew this was not just metal, it was proof. In New York, the sky was clear. No shadow, no dark ship. People came out of their homes, looked up, and breathed for the first time in days. Some cried, some laughed. Children ran through the streets, not understanding, but feeling the change. On TV, the president spoke again. "The threat has passed," he said. "The alien vessels have been destroyed. We are safe." But his voice was careful. He didn't say how. He didn't mention Site Gamma or Sentinel Prime. In the hidden base, the team worked without rest. Data poured in from every sensor, every satellite. Ellen Pratt sat at her desk, eyes tired but sharp. She studied the alien systems, trying to understand what they were. "They weren't here to fight," she said to Luke Bennett. "They were here to check, like a scout. They didn't bring a real army, just 3 ships, small ones." Lance Cooper leaned against the wall. "So, they thought we'd be easy." "Yes," Ellen said. "They've done this before. Find young worlds, take them before they can fight back. But they never saw us coming." Carol Davis stood by a window, looking at a screen showing the 3 crash sites. No signals, no response from their home. They're not coming back. Not yet. Luke shook his head. "We didn't just win, we shocked them. They thought we were nothing. Now they know we can fight." In the days that followed, the world changed. People weren't afraid anymore. They were proud. News stations played the same footage over and over. The beam from space, the ships collapsing, the silence after. Governments argued about what to do next. Some wanted to destroy the alien tech. Others wanted to study it. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer helpless. At Site Gamma, Lance gathered the team. "This isn't over," he said. "They'll come again, bigger, stronger. But now we've shown them one thing." "What's that?" someone asked. "That we don't break, we don't run. We fight back, and we win fast." Outside, the wind blew across the desert. Somewhere above, Sentinel Prime stayed awake, watching the sky, waiting.
6 months passed. The fear was gone. In its place was something new. Hope. Cities rebuilt what little damage had been done. The alien wreckage was taken to secret labs, studied day and night. Scientists learned how their ships worked, how they moved, how they failed. But more important than that, they learned how strong humanity could be. Project Aegis was no longer a secret. The truth came out slowly at first, then all at once. People saw the footage of Sentinel Prime, the rail cannons, the strike that lasted less than a minute. They saw the faces of the team who had saved them. Lance Cooper, Ellen Pratt, Carol Davis, and Luke Bennett. They weren't soldiers or kings. They were thinkers, builders, quiet heroes. In schools, children learned about the Zarathi and how Earth had stood tall. They thought we were weak, teachers said, but we were ready. Construction began on a new ship, not a weapon, but a promise. It would travel beyond the solar system, not to fight, but to explore. It was built using the future tech from the Antarctic ship, mixed with human design. Sleek and silver, it had glowing lines along its sides and a quiet power in its core. They named it the Els Pratt, after the woman who first understood the warning from the future. On launch day, the sky was clear. The ship sat on the pad at sunrise, light reflecting off its smooth surface. Crowds gathered behind fences. Soldiers stood at ease. Scientists hugged each other.
Even the president was there, but no one cared about speeches. Lance stood beside Ellen, hands in his pockets. "We did good. We just got started," she replied. The engines fired, not with a roar, but with a deep hum that shook the ground. The ship rose slowly, then faster, climbing into the sky like a star being born. Vapor swirled behind it. People waved, cried, smiled. In orbit, Sentinel Prime turned slightly, as if watching the ship pass. On its screen, a message was sent, not to Earth, but to space, to anyone who might be listening. "We are not ready, but we are not afraid." Far away, in the dark between stars, no one answered. But on Earth, people looked up and believed. They were no longer just a small world. They were a force, and they were just beginning.